Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero. Our guest today is Daphne Maxwell Reid. She's an artist, an author, a designer, a purveyor of style, an example of grace, and a wonderful cook. She's also an actress. We remember her as Aunt Viv from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which makes our episode timely because this week is the Fresh Prince 30th year reunion show on HBO Max. All that is to say that she's one of the creators in this world who leaves everywhere she goes better for her having been there. If you can't tell, we love this lady. She's terrific, and we're happy to have her on the show. Speaking of the show, I have announced before that I'm stepping down from the Break It Down show to develop new joints for Lions Rock Productions, specifically focus on the funk. It's a show about music and people who make music, so if you like books and science and comedians and spy stuff, the Break It Down show will continue to deliver with Pete at the helm. What am I still doing here, you ask? Well, I'll still be around too, but I'll be focused on the funk, so stay tuned. I'm also producing an audiobook for Dr. Andrea Vitz, who wrote The You You've Never Met, and I'm co-hosting her podcast, Level-Headed Talk. I'm also co-hosting the Ted O'Neill program with the world's best strength and rehab coach, Ted O'Neill. Both of those are available on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you find fitness and self-improvement podcasts. That's a lot of stuff. Also, as always, Save the Brave. SaveTheBrave.org. We support their mission to help veterans cope with PTSD, and we would love it if you helped too, especially in the midst of this pandemic. Save the Brave is going strong at a time when we all could use a little more support and fellowship, so please consider lending some of your support to Save the Brave. And one more time, watch the Fresh Prince 30th year reunion show with some guy named Will Smith, I think, and our beautiful guest today, Daphne Maxwell Reid.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl Ames.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
I'm Daphne Maxwell Reid, and this is the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Yes, indeed. Daphne Maxwell Reid attended the prestigious Bronx High School of Science before going to Northwestern on a scholarship. There she earned a degree in architecture and became the school's first African-American homecoming queen. She also signed with the Eileen Ford Agency and became the first African-American woman to grace the cover of Glamour magazine. Modeling evolved into acting over the years. She's been in a dozen movies and appeared on several dozen TV shows, hits like The A-Team and Hill Street Blues and Murder, She Wrote. But we probably know her best from the 3 years that she played Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I will say that I developed my own personal liking for you because I'm a lifelong fan of The Whispers.
Oh, you saw her as a young woman.
Well, everybody in that video was young.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, you were in the It's a Love Thing video as the correspondent at the beginning that needed to pull them over to get an interview.
I've done 2 for the Whispers.
Oh, my goodness. What was the other one?
I was also a ghost in a antique shop for one of their songs. I don't remember what the name of the song was.
Now, what is your association with the Whispers? Because we have one, too.
They asked.
They asked. All right. Well,
and I knew the director.
They were shooting for the top. Pete and I both grew up in the Bay Area, so we're dear friends with a couple of the guys in the band, and
really sweet. I like them a lot.
That's great to hear. So you have. Let's see, you have the reboot for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on HBO Max coming up sometime around Thanksgiving.
Well, let me clarify. It's not a reboot.
Okay.
Oh, no. The reboot is a program that Will is doing on the Peacock Network.
Oh, I see.
With a young man who's doing the dramatic version of his view of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow.
What we have coming up in November is the reunion.
The reunion.
Reunion of the cast.
My goodness. The 30-year reunion. Isn't that something?
So it went so fast.
Yeah. Wow. what about this reunion was exciting for you? What have you stayed in touch with people? Is this really the kind of reunion where everybody went off, did their own thing, and nobody's been keeping up on each other?
We are family. We've been in touch for 30 years. But this was the first time in, I would say, I think this is the first time ever that we've all been back at the set.
Oh.
And there were lots of surprises, and there were stories that we had never heard of behind the scenes action, and there's lots of surprises, and we were treated to a lot of surprises as well. We were flown into LA, and we were each kept at a separate hotel. So that we wouldn't reunionize before we got.
They wanted to catch it fresh.
Yeah, so it was it was fabulous. We just had a ball.
Okay. Do you have a best friend among the cast? Is there a favorite?
Well, no, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
James was my best friend out of the cast, James Avery. He was my other husband, as I used to call him. And we traveled a lot together, his wife and my husband and I. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful friend. And I loved him dearly.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I see Karen more than I see anybody else. Karen and Alfonso. I see Tatiana a lot, but the three of them, we all stay pretty much in touch with each other.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear as a fan.
Do you have any connection at all with Janet at all? Or, I mean, not that you guys...
Never met her.
Yeah. So you take over and it's just not, there's no strife, it's just never encountered.
They never talked about her. They never talked about why. They just treated me like I had been there the whole time and welcomed me with open arms. And we just commenced with the episode that Jazzy Jeff noticed that I looked a little different since I had that baby. And Will just broke the fourth wall and looked at the audience and shrugged, and that was all that was said about it.
Yeah,
that's terrific.
I wanted to ask too, when you close on something like this, and it shocks me because I remember watching in real time. Actually, here, let me back up. One of my things I always love the theme song because it's Will Smith and everything, and they always played the short version. I'm like, come on, give us that extra 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But then
never heard it.
Yeah, it's fun and it's silly and everything. The other thing I wanted to ask is when you do wrap the show and it is the last episode, did you know that this was a special thing? I mean, you've done every kind of TV show and you don't walk out going, I have to remember this, but I have a feeling that wasn't the case with this show.
This show was very, very special, but we had been told by Will that it was going to be the last year. So we all knew that we were ultimately going to get to the last episode. He wanted everybody to be able to prepare for not working on this show and getting on to something else if they wanted to. So he was kind enough to tell us, okay, this is the last year. But the last episode was very, very, very difficult to shoot. The table read that Monday was tearful. I don't think we got through any of the scenes without crying. So,
oh man,
it was.
How come Brett Allen says this was the smoothest day ever?
Because Brett's interviewed Daphne before.
Okay,
he's our connection. Yes.
Well, when you know that it's the last year and you can get like the nostalgia build up, and it seems to me that not only, I mean, that sounds wonderful. That first of all, that you got to know so that you could prepare professionally, but also so that you could really savor it personally. And
well, I had been through the end of many series before that. And savoring is not usually what you do. You go, okay, what's next?
Okay.
Because in this business, there's always an end point. Yeah. There's nothing that goes on eternally. I guess daytime soaps do, but in the TV world of nighttime, there is an end point. It's either an abrupt end or a noticed end. and you either write toward it, which Fresh Prince did, having us all move out of Bel-Air, or you get surprised by it, like we were on Frank's Place. So there's lots of endings, and you don't really ponder the past. You always savor the present, and you look forward to the future.
I wanted to ask about, we've had two people that appeared on Happy Days. One of them is Donnie Most, and Leather Tuscadero, Susie Quattro was on the show. And I was talking to Don about knowing that you're on something that is a different show. It's at a different level. It becomes like it no longer belongs to Gary Marshall and crew. It belongs to everybody. And I feel like your show was like that. And I have a sense for why it worked on Happy Days, but why did it work? You know, with your crew, what was it that made you guys stick so well all these years later?
I think it was just the chemistry. It was lightning caught in a bottle, and it was of its time, but eternal. It was iconic because of the things that we dealt with. It was iconic because of the strength of the points of view of all the characters on the show and how they melded together and had a basic family. And family was what the show was all about.
I think, if I can nudge you on a topic there, the stuff that you explored, I mean, to have a show where you can be as adventurous as to tackle subjects that, are controversial and do it in a way that gives the viewpoint of generations and does it with reverence and with accuracy. I think that was one of the things that it was weird because we, as a viewer, we looked to the show to be entertained, but we also looked to the show because it gave us some honesty.
Good, because we insisted on making sure that our points of view were from our points of view and not just words written on a page. We had the privilege of being with a group of writers who were not all Black, but were writing for a Black family. So we had the privilege of making suggestions and tempering the scripts so that they were more true to our culture. And we were able to do that with a freedom that you don't usually get on a set. And I think that kind of helped make it an honest show because we were truthfully representing our community in all the different ways that we thrive in our community. And we're able to show that because we had good writers and good directors and Will Smith.
Yeah.
I want to ask a bit of a challenging question, and we don't have to go down this road if you don't want to. But I don't know exactly how to deal with the legacy of someone like Bill Cosby. We stand on his shoulders in terms of showing a normal family that happens to be Black. How do we deal with this? I mean, how many people have benefited from the good side of what he's done and then weigh that against the horrible things? Do you have thoughts on this?
Oh, yes, I do. I love Bill Cosby. He was a dear friend of mine. He is a dear friend of mine. Right. And I did The Cosby Show once and loved it. Felicia Rashad is an amazing talent. And that show depicted a side of Black culture that nobody else did. They dealt with the history of music, the history of art in the Black community. They dealt with a lot of things that are not being dealt with in general, even at this point. He needs to be separated from his talent and his personal life. We are not our characters. We are individual people. And he is an individual person who made conscious or unconscious moves as an individual person that he's paying for now. But that has nothing to do with the legacy of his work and his humor and his sharp presentation of how he saw the world. They're two separate things to me.
And all the people whose careers he fostered. I mean, it's hard to deal with, like Pete said, the legacy when we think about the behavior, and then his impact on all of our entertainment with just things like, you know, his relationship with Melvin Van Peebles and Earth, Wind and Fire, and just helping because he was in a position to do it.
Yes. And he's helped us. I mean, he was the standard bearer when we got into television. He was one of the only Black characters on I Spy. I mean, in that era when folks were just opening up to having Blacks be in leading characters. Mm-hmm. And he did a damn good job. And you can't take away all of that good that he did because of his personal life.
Yeah.
There were so many things, you know, as a white dude that were normalized. Because not that it needs to be normalized, but you just don't know. I didn't watch a Black cartoon. I watched Fat Albert. And I loved it. You know, it never occurred to me that they were kids in the urban thing. They were just characters. And then the other thing I thought was really genius as an adult that I can see is you look at the Cosby Show and the artwork on the set would change and they would be African art. He wore all those sweaters and sweatshirts. And I looked up in an actual encyclopedia what Spellman was, you know, and he showed me that there were a hallway full of doors and let me pick whatever I wanted. I looked up who the artist was, who put the paint. I mean, all of those things became not black or white. They just became part of us because he did such a great job with that.
And this is what we need now, is people being exposed to all the different cultures that there are in America, all the different people who built America as it stands. You can't just separate them into those people and us. It just won't work. This is America, and we were all builders of this country, and we should all be reaping the fruits of our labors in this country. And
enjoying all the stuff.
Head knocking.
You know, I want to go back to the Fresh Prince because you had as producers Quincy Jones and Benny Medina, and they were empowered to do anything. And then, of course, Will Smith. But you know, when you start with Benny Medina and Quincy Jones, and then you give them, and Brandon Tartikoff just says, yes, do it as hard as you can.
Oh, Brandon was not so easy to say yes.
No.
No, I think Quincy was very,
he had to be persuasive
in getting Brandon to say yes. I mean, It's a big step to want to do a Black show in the 80s or the 90s.
Yeah.
And
in the prime spot.
In the network system, you had we won't go back there. There were only 3 networks. So you had to focus on your audience that your network had built. And if you thought a show was going to turn off your audience, you didn't do it. So there were a whole lot of different avenues that we had to navigate back then.
Were there storylines that you recall that were just too much that you had to pull back from?
No.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Nah.
Yeah.
We can deal with anything.
Okay.
I mean, when you deal with a dead fiance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be kind of touchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was hysterical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, you know, I imagine that, as you put it, the Brandon Tartikoff was not that easy, and he had pressures coming in from his network job. But it was, you know, Norman Lear could be adventurous, and thankfully he was. But to put it in the hands of, you know, of Quincy and Benny and allow them to be also that was something.
That was something. And Quincy was he still is. He's quite the icon, the creative powerhouse that he is.
Yeah.
You almost want to say, whatever you want to do, it can't be wrong.
Yeah.
When you think about your career, your path, I mean, you've been on everything, you know, from, I mean, everything.
Everything.
When you look back to that young you that's, you know, about to become something, you know, the first Black this, successful at that, whatever it is, does that person know that it could be this good, that it'll be this brilliant, or did she have bigger sights? You tell me.
I never looked that far ahead. I was a person who was taking advantage of opportunities that were presented to me, and I happened to be right for because I was in the right place at the right time, and things were changing that I didn't have any control over. I just was the person that I was. And I guess in the 70s, there was a balancing act that was going on between I wasn't Black enough or I was Black. Same day, two different commercials I auditioned for in Chicago. One said, oh, she's not Black enough. And this is a Black agency. And then the white agency said, oh, no, she's Black. We can't. I mean, so I wasn't going on any preconceived notions of what could be. I was going to do whatever I wanted to do. And I was taught that from a very early age. I was taught to be a leader. I was taught to not fear change. I was taught to be true to myself and to maintain my integrity. So I walk day by day with those instructions from my ancestors. And I have been blessed. I've been truly blessed. I was the beginning of my life, God blessed me. He gave me so many different talents that in finding each one of my talents, I had to remember to manifest them so that I would honor my mother. I would honor my gift. And I just try to do that day by day.
Yeah, he kind of made you easy on the eyes too.
Didn't have anything to do with me. That's mom and dad.
When you
You know what?
Yeah.
Yo, go ahead, Pete.
When you look at your attributes, the things you bring, let's not talk about in front of the camera because that's, your resume is set. What do we not know about you that you're like, oh, I have developed this amazing capacity or I have this innate ability? What's behind the camera good for you?
I have so many talents that people are discovering now. I'm a designer. I'm a photographer. I can publish my own books. I do wall hangings. I do a line of clothes. I do a cookbook. I'm a hell of a cook. And I'm a great person as a grandma. So
right.
I've
The
got
best.
great kids. I've got a fantastic family. And we have a blended family from Tim's first family and my first family. And it's working.
I love hearing that. I got a blended family too, and we all love each other. And man, it's terrific. There's nothing better.
Even the exes, it's all family.
Yeah. My wife's ex, I love him. Like out loud, I go, oh man, I love this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, it doesn't always start like that. So if we have viewers out there who are struggling through the beginnings of a blended family, hey, just know that with love, love as hard as you can, and all things melt away with time.
And let it go and love them into it. I just wasn't going to let anything stand in the way of loving it. So,
That's
legitimately,
terrific.
have you ever encountered something that love wouldn't overcome in time?
death.
Okay.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
I thought that, Pete, when you went down this road and you were going to say, we know what you've done in front of the camera. Let's talk about what you've done behind the camera. As I went through your list of accomplishments, I ran across something that I hadn't seen, which was a Paul Mooney movie analyzing white America that you also co-executive produced.
I only co-executive produced because I co-owned the studio where we did it. That was Tim.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was Tim's project. Okay.
Yeah, it was Tim's
Well,
project.
still. All right. I'm going to have to go back and go see that movie because I hadn't seen it.
I
love
sure
Paul
it got
Mooney.
sold, but Tim did it.
You made sure it got sold. So there.
I was the business end of the studio, so.
I noticed
got-
you also were on a show that was on for like maybe 8 episodes, but it was also the beginning of another brilliant career. You were on Duck Factory, which was like a vehicle to launch Jim Carrey, right? And it didn't quite work out.
Only in one episode.
Right. But still, you were there to see it. When you meet these people that are meteoric with their talent, and, because Will doesn't care what genre it is or what it is. He's just going to be great at it. Is it easy to see, or can they be so raw? You're like, God, I wish that Jim Carrey guy could just get the work done. And, like working with Robin Williams, you're just like, back off and let him explode.
When you see them, they have that, what we call that it factor. And you can't explain it. You can't define it. It's just, it's their time. They have a spark in them that is going to just burst forth, and everybody's going to love it.
Can you tell us about anybody who had the it factor and spent some time not realizing how much of an it factor they had? Did you run across somebody where you go, man, this person is so talented, I wish they would just realize it and do it? And maybe, for a little while lacked some confidence and had to find it?
I do that with my interns and the young people that I work with. I had a girl who was helping me write some of my Instagram postings, and she was very good at that. And she was good at teaching me how to do the Instagram thing. You need these young people to tell you how to do this. And I saw some doodle she had done. I'm going, what is this? She said, oh, I draw. I said, show me some more. She said, show me some more. So she showed me the range of things that she had done. And I said, okay, this is the deal. You're doing an art show. I have a gallery. We're hanging your stuff in the show. Give me a list of people you'd like to invite.
Wow.
We had that show. She sold 8 pieces of art that night. I said, you have a talent to do this. Now, whether you want to do this or not is going to be up to you. She's thriving.
Oh, that's terrific. That's a great story.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is this what you're called to do? To be this multi-talented person? Like acting is like, I do that to pay the bills and I love it. But is this really what you're supposed to do, is like to mentor and to create?
Did you know that I never wanted to be an actress? It wasn't something that I strived to do.
I know now.
I'm sure you just got on a lot of people's nerves a second ago.
I'm sorry. But hey, in the 60s, there was absolutely no example of a Black woman making a living being an actress.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see anything but hardship in being an actress back in the 60s. So I had no examples to say, oh, yeah, you should strive for this. No, you're going to be a teacher. You're going to be a lawyer, whatever you want to be. But yeah, have fun. Do that acting thing. And I had fun and did that acting thing, and it turned out to be my thing.
We all just happened to like it.
I tell you, I was in the right place at the right time. I don't know that I could start that same career now because all sorts of things are different now.
Yeah.
But if you get the opportunity, be prepared and make the best of the opportunity. That's all I can tell young folk.
I was going to say, when I said you just got on a lot of people's nerves, I was going to say you got on a lot of people's nerves who are waiting tables and, struggling through a starving artist's life. But one need only look at your path to realize that acting wasn't a thing that you depended on. I mean, you got an education, you went to a prestigious high school before you went to a prestigious college, and you did well and you prepared yourself. So there's the lesson, everybody, if you want to do whatever it is you want to do.
When young folks ask me about, I want to be an actor. I said, okay, what else do you want to be? And what do you mean? I said, you have to have something that you're passionate about to make a living while you're waiting to be chosen. Because if you're an actor, you're waiting to be chosen. And you have no control over that. So find something that you really love to do and pursue it while you're dealing with your acting, while you're waiting for your opportunity to shine. But prepare yourself, but feed yourself in the meantime. I have no problem with folks being waiters and waitresses.
Yeah.
Be kind to me. That's all I can say. And I'm sorry for this pandemic.
Yeah. When you're when you're getting started and you're like, there are no real role models that look like you out there. I mean, okay, you got Room 222, but that's a black dude. You got the Mod Squad, that's a black dude.
Room 222 had a black female teacher.
Oh, we did. Okay. Well, I'm just picturing the picture in my head. But who else was out there who was fronting a show, who was a prime cast member? I mean, is there anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's not a lot, though.
No. It wasn't like, hey, everybody, let's go do this.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
Reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner,
or at JohnLG69.
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
No. It wasn't like, hey, everybody, let's go do this.
Well,
I didn't see a path.
to your point about doing something else so that you can feed yourself, you also do something else so that you inform your ability to bring something to a character.
Yes.
And I think that's lost on a lot of people who dive into an artistic endeavor.
You have to be a reader. You have to read literature. You have to see how characters are developed in classic literature so that you can figure out how to develop a character that you need to bring to the screen. You can't do it just sitting around watching TV and you got to spend some time preparing, and preparing should be a joy. It shouldn't be a something that you are hesitant to do.
There's a lot of it. I'm going to tell you, you're wise and smart right now. Hey, everybody, Daphne's wise and smart. But you're absolutely right. If you want to know the script for every sitcom, Three's Company, whatever it's going to be, you go read some Aristophanes and some Menander, and they've done it all. All of it. And if you start there, then you can have your thread and go forward and realize what you really are, doing.
Build a character. Yeah. Read them. Them.
Well, on top of reading other people's characters, I mean, your education allows you to bring a character some life and with some life experience. And that's different. You could bring a person who does a great job at the craft of acting on a technical level to the character of Aunt Viv or anybody else, and they're not going to emote the same. They're not going to draw in the audience the same. Don't you think that your education gave you a wisdom that allowed you to sort of cook through to those of us who, even if you were just standing there and didn't have a line?
Yeah. You have to be present in whatever you're doing. And my preparation was living each day and noticing people in the street, noticing people when I'm flying on a plane, sitting in a room, noticing their mannerisms, noticing how they interact with other people. You can look at people and draw conclusions. I like to tell my head stories about, those two people are not married, but they're going to get married. And I go through a whole scenario of what these two people look like they are doing or not doing. And that's just a fun little thing that I do. But being prepared when you're on a set, you have to take into account your life, the world that you come from, because that's what you base your emotional movement on. If you're not exposed to certain forms of life, you don't react to them the same as somebody who is exposed to that.
Yeah.
So the more you know, the better you act.
You are obviously inspired by your surroundings. You look at the books, and I want to talk a little bit about this, but I want to bring Tim into the conversation too. Do you guys create independently always? Do you guys collaborate? Because you guys are both doing so many things. It's not like you guys are like slowing down. You guys are just doing more than ever.
We used to do a lot of things collaboratively.
Okay.
He was the creative and I was the business side, and I was along sleeping with the director. So, I got the job. But after about 20 years, we decided that we really needed to explore different things without each other. And it's been great. He's got a new network that he set up, a streaming network that he's doing the content for and establishing and getting started. And I have absolutely nothing to do with it. I even go, oh, that's what you do. And I have so many different branches of things that I do. And he goes, oh, that's nice. When did you do that?
Been working on it for a while.
Yeah, we travel separately now. We used to travel together, but I got a group of women that I travel with now. We've been all over the world. And I intend to keep doing that as soon as we're allowed to.
Yeah.
And he does travel for business because he's always looking for a new story or a new way to bring an idea to life with it. And he teaches around the world as well. He has an institute where he trains young filmmakers. So he's got filmmakers now in London and Nigeria and Ethiopia and South Africa. And so every once in a while, they all come together somewhere in the world and do a project. So we have those lives that are fulfilling to each of us personally. And then we come together as husband and wife and share what we have been doing. And it keeps it fresh, I guess.
You're interesting to each other.
Yeah.
I saw on your filmography that you had been on an episode of WKRP. Is that where you met?
No, we met in Chicago back in the 70s when we were both married to other people. We just used to work together. I didn't pay any attention to him and he didn't pay any attention to me. But when I moved out to California, he was already doing KRP and the Chicago people used to hang out together. So do you remember Tim Reed? I'm going, yeah, vaguely. So he called me one night and asked me out on a 5-minute date. And the date lasted 5 hours and now it's been 40 years.
What is a 5-minute date? I will do everything I can to learn from Tim Reed about the art of courting. What is a 5-minute date?
Hey,
how do you get his foot in the door? Okay.
I'll meet you for a drink. I'm getting ready to go up to wherever he was going, and I'll meet you at such and such a place. Okay. And we sat down, we had a drink, and laughed and talked and laughed and talked. And then 5 hours had passed and we had breakfast.
Wow.
That's a good
date. Yes, that sounds like a great date.
Yeah. If you would have one of those kind of moments, my girlfriend now, we did this. We didn't know we were going to be in love, but we just would sit there for hours and be like,
just talk.
Yeah, about whatever. That's a good sign for a relationship.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign. You have to allow somebody to tell you about themselves, because if you start judging them as they're telling you, you're not going to get much out of her. So be careful.
You are both so prolific, though, and in a town where relationships don't tolerate, it doesn't tolerate long relationships. I mean, you can be married for 10 years and it's like they're still together. How do you do 40? Like, what if you had to do something special to get there?
Yes. We learned how to fight fair.
Oh, okay.
And we have a family, and you don't want to tear the family asunder. We've done that once with our former marriages. And we said, okay, I'm not getting married again. So you want to make this work? Okay, this is what I need, and this is what I need. Okay, I can give you that. I can give you that. Okay, I give you that, and I give you that. Okay, that's fine. All right, we'll start there.
Yeah.
Negotiate the peace, and you have to want to be there. You have to find the redeeming factor, because that hot love stuff cools down, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just nature. But if you have a basic camaraderie Ours is based on humor and on just honesty, just trust.
Yeah.
Can you trust this person? If they betray your trust, what are you going to do? Okay, it's been betrayed. Now what's next? Do you want to be here? If you want to be here, let's make this work. And I don't trust you. Okay, so you have to build your trust back up again. It's always give and take. It is not a smooth say. I don't care who tells you that they had moms and dads who never argued. That's BS. There are arguments, but you have to learn to argue with love. Get your point across, but you don't have to take somebody's knees out.
Wow. That's a sweet sentiment, and I'm glad to hear you say that. I think what Pete alluded to, I would expand on by saying that, when you're in a relationship with two people who are so creative, that passions run high. And so for a lot of people, marriages have highs and lows. For creative people, the highs are often higher and the lows are often lower. So you have to have that level of honesty that comes sometimes with the fact that you've been around the block a couple times.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear you say that. Can I shift gears and say you went and grabbed a book?
Wait, hold on. Yes. Before you shift gears, I want to ask another question real quick on this theme. Okay. And then, so you guys are also artists. You have different sine waves with your level of excitement about whatever project, So he may be in a valley when you're in a peak. Is there anything different with that at all? Or do you guys not? I mean, because it's like, yes, I'm doing this great thing. And they're like, I got rejected again. That could be hard to manage.
We don't deal with rejection. Nobody ever rejects us. It wasn't our job. That's what it was. Right. If I go to an audition, I'm never rejected. Okay. They just chose somebody else.
Yeah.
But who's going to reject me? That's a personal thing that you don't need to carry that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I try to get people to stop. That wasn't your job. You got another one coming. So just move on. But we do have our highs and lows, and sometimes they're at the same time, lows. And we have determined that we need our own spaces. So he always, wherever we live, he has a room that is his. And when he's in that room, he's either creative or he's wanting to be.
Yeah.
When I'm in my room, I'm creating or I'm sitting there deciding what's going to be the next creation.
Yeah.
But we always have our rooms. And now he has his studio where he's got a nice 5,000 square foot space where he can create whatever he wants to create. And I have my studio where I'm sitting in right now in my house where I can create anything I want to create. And I love it.
Yeah. That confidence to create independently. I love that. John, take it with the book thing. I'm going to get out of the way.
Yeah. Let's talk about the book you created because I know it's within reach because you brought it over. What is it?
Well, that's just one of them. This is my 5th book. And this is my cookbook.
And yeah. Grace and Soul and Mother Wit. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a mini memoir. So what I did was honor my mother, who taught me how to cook and who loved cooking and sharing with people. And I took all the recipes that I had collected over the 40 years that I was in show business, actively in show business, and I compiled them with stories about where I got them from, who these people were to me. And then I did it so that anybody who has ever wanted to learn how to cook can start here, because I give them basics. I tell them how to measure, what this means, all the things you need in a kitchen, all the things you need to keep in your pantry. And then I have some fun in some of the recipes. And one of my favorites is my husband's king crab legs. And it has an entire recipe that's based on sipping beer while you're cooking. So,
okay.
It's a fun little recipe.
Yeah, that'll make cooking fun.
Yeah.
So what kind of recipes are we dealing with in here? Let's
everything. Soup to nuts. soup to nuts, including some healing things, some chamomile tea for calming your nerves, and then there's a parsley poultice and all sorts of things that I collected from my years of living. And I put them all down because I like to share information. And people look to me to share because they know I've lived a wonderful life. And they want to know, what did you do? I say, hey, I'll tell you what I did. Now you do what you need to do.
You've also created books about Cuba, Belgium, France. Do you have preferred place that you'd like to go? And then do you go there to specifically find this muse and create the book?
I am, my muse is doors. You read that I was an architecture major at Northwestern, and I always focused on the details of architecture. And I was drawn to doors and found out that they were a metaphor for life. So in my photography, I had been taking pictures and not knowing that I'm taking all these pictures of doors. And when I decided to become a photographic artist, which I determined to be, I looked through my stash of photos and realized that I had all these doors. So my first book was just called Doors. And it was from all over the world, Italy and Germany and Cape Verde and lots of other places that I had been, Morocco. So I created this book and realized that my journey through life has been through opening doors, through noticing the details of my life, which makes it rich, and encouraging people to notice the details of their life. Because getting from A to B is not the whole deal. If you get to B, then you got to start again and set another journey. What's the big deal is between A and B. It's like the dash between your birthday and your death date on your gravestone. It's how that life was lived. It was what you noticed. It was who you touched. And I want people to notice all the small details of their life because it really makes for a very rich journey. And I like to share that through my vision of doors.
I actually have a story that goes exactly with this. Just last night, we walk our dogs around our neighborhood, and it's a mid-century modern, place. And John's been there, and everybody's done a lovely job of decorating their homes. So they're all similar, but over the last 60, 70 years, they've all become very unique. And I was noticing, get this, I was noticing some doors that are there in plain sight that I hadn't noticed before. And so there was a point in time architecturally, mid-century, 20th century, where the diamond shape in the door, and it's just like it just X's across like the front window, across the door. And I'm like, I love this look over like the, the all window or whatever. And like Dutch door style doors. And these doors I walk by every night and I notice them and I'm like, I love how these things look. And so I was channeling my inner Daphne.
Yes. It's working.
Is it deliberate that there are all kinds of doors behind you in the room where you're pointing your camera at your face?
Let's see. Where are my doors? They're mostly in the hallways in my house.
Yeah, but I mean, was it completely by accident that your fascination with doors led you just to point your camera at yourself right where you are right now?
Where the doors are.
Yeah.
I got the doors. It's because I didn't back up to the armoire where I usually sit in front of to take an interview because there's such a lovely sun outside of my window. I wanted to sit underneath the window.
Oh, good.
So
Good. I like
that's why you got doors. That one goes to the hall, and that one goes to a closet, and that one goes to the bathroom. So, ignore the doors, those doors. But when you're out on your walk, on your drive, notice the details of your life as you're living it. It really enriches your life.
Yeah. Tell us about a door that you find interesting right now. I mean, I saw recently an enormous, and I didn't just love it because it's obscenely expensive, but it was a really, really big glass pivot door.
Ooh.
and it was magnificent.
On the end or in the middle?
It pivoted at probably a fifth of the way in. So at the 20% mark was where the pivot was. And just that they had done this with this enormous piece of glass, they had to encase it in steel, and it had to be structurally, very, but it was just really neat to see when it opened, because it opened in such an interesting way. And the pivot doors everybody's doing them now. But is there a door that you have a special affinity for, being that you have such a fascination?
Doors. My fascination is with the doors that God had a hand in.
Okay.
So I love the doors in Morocco that were painted 19,000 times, and then the weather tore it up, and then somebody mended it, and then it's got a piece of ironwork on it that is just precious. Those kind of doors are the ones that really catch my attention. If you look at any of my doors books, and they're all available online at daphnemaxwellreid.com, you will see doors that are created from whatever they had. That was what threw me in Cuba, was just fascinating to see such a country that is in such deep poverty live such a joyous life and make art with whatever they have on hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a fascinating trip down the whole western side of Cuba, in small cities and big cities that are situated there. It was just a fascinating trip. So I did a whole book on that.
Wow.
I'm a fan of the Doors of Paradise at the Grace Chapel in San Francisco. And they're inspired by doors that launched the Renaissance. And you can live in San Francisco your whole life and never even realize what you're seeing is something was so important to the world that not only they copied it, but it just changed everything. And so they are my favorite doors in California. I actually have favorite doors. How about that?
Good. You should get to Venice. You will have more favorite doors.
Oh my gosh, Venice is wonderful. Yes.
Oh, Venice just has, I did so many collections from Venice and from Morocco, and all over Italy and France. They have craftsmanship. They have ideas in their doors that we don't consider here. We want an IKEA door. I just love the craftsmanship, and like to see what people think of themselves as represented by their front doors.
What people think of themselves. That's pretty interesting, because I think when people have, the front door they're excited about, they are projecting.
Yes.
We absolutely project through our front doors. That's where we want to welcome people. Wow. I'm going to now get into the psychology of people's front doors.
Hey.
That will be a fascination of mine. The only thing is, sometimes you get a house and you don't necessarily choose what's there because you buy the existing house the way it is. So it's not like everybody gets to customize their front door. And
if you want to, you can.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. Also telling. So what's next? What are you working on now? What will you be reaching for, and how has the pandemic changed what you're working on?
The pandemic hasn't really changed the way I function, because I'm used to being in my studio alone creating. So make me stay at home is no big deal.
Yeah.
But what I've been doing over the pandemic is making masks. And this is a pattern that I designed for Culture Works, which is a nonprofit arts group in Richmond. And I designed this fabric and had it printed so that I can make masks for our big donors. So that's what I've been working on. And then I will do some more masks, I'm sure, because this is not going to go away in the near future.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing my full-length memoir.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Which has been a struggle for me.
Why is that?
Just to sit down and try to remember all that stuff and what I should be talking about and what I don't need to bother to talk about. So I'm doing it kind of like in sections, and I've got, hey, I was born. Okay, I've got that part down, my early childhood. But I'm up to college now, and wow, did my life change.
You have talked several times about honoring your mother and father. So I know that's important to you. Of course, you have to be a parent that you want to honor. How, that's the thing. Like, I didn't have a parent worth honoring. What do you do if your parent wasn't someone that drives you like that? What's a proxy for that?
You have a proxy with someone else that you respect, and you honor them who encourage you. Those are the ones you want to honor.
How do you become honorable?
By living your true life, by having a purpose in your life, and by being open to giving of your life to somebody else, to share the best of you with someone. And like we did on Fresh Prince, if somebody's in need, say our nephew, you open your doors and you make family out of that group of people. And that's what I espouse.
That's terrific. And that is the Fresh Prince story. I mean, that was Benny Medina's story. And it's great to see that. I have a friend who we give him a hard time because we go, man, you take in a lot of strays. But those strays, they would quickly become his nephew. He would always refer to them as his nephews.
Yep.
And they would, get help to raise his daughters. And they have all become all of our community's nephews.
Did you see that show called the something about the bunch of fathers or the council of dads? Have you seen that? You should see that show, because that's people in your life who mean something to you, gathering together to all raise your children. And I grew up in a community like that. My mother and my father were the mother and father of a whole lot of people whose mother and fathers weren't paying attention to them. Yeah. And they were taking in people from around the world. They would come in for a church meeting or something, and I'd wake up and, oh, there's somebody on the couch. Somebody from Germany. And so I get to see what German sounds like and greet somebody else. It's an open arms policy that's a little more difficult at this time in our lives. Yeah. Because of all the mistrust that we have with one another. But on an individual basis, you can create the community that becomes your family. And one should strive to do that.
One of the things that I think we're losing as we get more modernized and more self-reliant is we lose that aspect, like honor father and mother. That's in the Bible, and church and community. At our house, the church was powerful, and we had college students from all over the world come in, and sometimes we'd keep them if they stayed, and they'd always have a place to come have a meal. We're losing that, or is it just changing form and we do that in other ways? I don't know how to have some Asian kids stay at my house now. There's just not like a system for that I know of.
I think there are people who do that still, and mostly church-related people and church groups that gather and travel and stay at individuals' houses. It was a cultural thing with us because when we traveled from New York to down south, you couldn't stay in a hotel as a Black person, so you stayed with other families, and it was just the open arms hospitality of the culture. So it's not foreign to us. It's quite usual for us to embrace the community and to share what we have.
And it's fun.
Yeah, you meet a whole lot of strange people and a whole lot of great folks.
Yeah,
we have been in lots of circumstances where we have been in strangers' homes and learned a lot.
Yeah, you've both done a lot of traveling to all over the place too. So you get those opportunities because you give those opportunities and you afford yourselves those opportunities, and that's a lot of fun. Do you see that you and Tim might collaborate on something else again, or are you having too much fun doing your separate projects?
He's asked me if I wanted to do a program for his show, but I haven't decided what that might be yet. So. I might work with him again, but probably not.
Okay.
It's easy.
Well, you haven't ruled it out.
No, I haven't ruled it out. No. It just has to be under the right circumstances.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, we've had you for an hour, and you've been absolutely delightful.
Well, thank you. So have you guys.
Oh,
Thank you so much for everything that you've given to us and to our entertainment and to the things that we think about. I mean, 3 years on the Fresh Prince seems like not that much, but it was 76 episodes or something like that. And that was 76 episodes that, especially in the formative times in our lives that we were watching the show, really meant a lot. So
we've got viewers. We're on our third generation of viewers. So
yeah.
I guess we did something right.
Yes, you did.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. Not only that, but I think that your example as a continuous creator and reaching into doing whatever you want and helping to foster other people to do whatever they want and some things that they didn't even know they wanted to do.
Right.
Thank you for that as well.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you guys for having a place to talk about this.
Of course.
Yeah.